Hello, 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 everybody. Thanks for coming in, listening to the Leon LeGray podcast. I hope you guys are doing a great day, evening, wherever you are. So, today in this show, I want to go ahead and give you a few of our sponsors here on today's Leon LeGray podcast. And today's podcast, I want to go ahead and introduce you to ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is something I recommend. I think is a really great service, and the VPN features are great whether you're using Android, iOS, Mac, Windows, all that jazz. Wherever you're using ExpressVPN, it's a great VPN to use, and this is something a lot of people don't even think about, which really it's privacy. And nowadays, you don't know who's going to be sneaking in and looking in your emails or what things that's been sent back and forth. So there's a lot of snooping around, and ExpressVPN covers your tracks. So, and this is something I definitely recommend ExpressVPN to anyone. And go ahead and check out ExpressVPN. I'll have the link down on the description below for you to sign up for 3 months, and you guys will not regret having to sign up to. Very important to protect yourself nowadays. Then second, I want to go ahead and introduce you to Brave. Brave is a browser I've been using for now 2 years, and I like Brave as a privacy browser. It has a built-in Tor features and a lot of Chromium aspects along with it too, except it's not Chrome, it is Brave, and it does a better job than Google's Chrome, which I like it, and I think it is one of the best browsers out there. And with all the browsing that you use in Brave, you do earn BAT, which stands for Basic Attention Tokens, and you can use it for spending or to support other content creators like myself. And if you want to go ahead and sign up for Brave and support content creator like me, I'll have the referral link down below. And also, you're helping me, you're helping yourself protect your privacy, and it is one of the best things that you as a user can do while you're browsing around the internet. Then last but not least, I want to make this real quick, which this is a hosting provider I've been using for all my podcasts, which is Podbeam. So what I liked about Podbeam, which you can provide all your episodes without any limits, and unlike other podcasting services, you can host as many audio files. It doesn't matter what content you're doing. You can post as many as you want within the month that you've signed up with Podbeam. And Podbeam has been around since the early days of the podcasting space, which I definitely recommend Podbeam over any freeware podcasting services. And this is one thing I will say is that if you're going to look into podcasting, Podbeam is a great choice as well. So look it up too. And Blueberry is an awesome service too. So if you want to go ahead and sign up for any of my affiliate links down below, Podbeam or Blueberry, check them out and you won't regret it. So today's episode, I want to go ahead and bring you a bit of a comparison battle, which I know before I begin in today's episode, I know we're going to go and talk about secure emails. Now, for some of you that don't know, I've been using emails since the early days, and it goes back all the way with Yahoo. And it didn't start out with Gmail. Yahoo was like the big deal back then too. And then from there on, I went ahead and switched over to Gmail because it had neat features that Yahoo didn't have back then too. And that was one of the main reasons I did. Then for a while, I did use Hotmail from MSN. Then after the many years has passed on, I went ahead and switched it to secure email providers like Tutanota and Protonmail. And we want to make sure and see what is the difference between the two. So don't you go anywhere. We're going to go ahead and get into a one-on-one match. Who is the clear winner? What things you have to take consideration when you're picking in secure emails. So let's get right onto it too. All right, folks, let's get on to today's episode on secure emails. So this is a very big deal now, and the trend on privacy has been growing very lately as of this year. Now, whether I think a lot of people will think about are thinking about this or not, you've got to look at it this way too. The bright side on all of this, and I think this is really good because, for one, I think people are thinking a little bit differently when it comes to these big conglomerate giants like Yahoo, Gmail, Microsoft, Apple, you name it. And that's one thing you've got to be concerned with today's climate. I mean, with all these tech corporatist companies. And one of the things I will have to put down with these big conglomerates, and I find it rich, like you've had Apple, they talk about how we care about consumer privacy. But if you look at the background, right, they just say that so they can make themselves feel really good. So that's not really the case, and that's all just talk until some action is being done, right? And I really don't believe it until I see it. So that's one thing I really dislike many of the companies that they do the talk, but never make the walk, right? That's why I don't like how they tell to privacy, but never do it. And then one day you'll find out that they've been compromising users' data for so long, right? Now, even though Gmail has the standard encryption that it's placed for many of users on many of the users' emails, right? Like the green lock that you normally see. Now, a lot of people say, well, it is secure. I don't think I have nothing to worry about, right? But that's not really all that true. There's tons of things that a lot of people don't ever look twice when it comes to emails. And this is where it gets into the dark side of things, and even a lot of people don't even recognize how bad your data is being mined all the time, and nobody thinks through this too. And if anyone really remembers about the Snowden revelations of 2013, it makes you aware about how insane it is, where there's almost literally no privacy anymore too. And I'm aware, for the most part, I'm sure like there's people are still waking up saying that I don't know if I really want to stick with Google anymore and things like that, right? And so to put this down here on the bottom line, I think there's a lot of people are looking into this and seeing that, man, I'm just not sure I'm going to put my trust into these companies anymore, and let these companies dig into my emails all the time. And I mean, and this is all but true too. You can look at the Snowden revelations, and besides, it's a simple Google or DuckDuck search. It only takes about a few minutes to find out about these companies looking to your data. Just type in Snowden revelations, and you'll find out more on this in your own research. So, and two companies I wanted to talk about. And in fact, this is really important because I've been using them forever, actually. I'd say about it goes around 2018, and it's good that we're seeing competition outside of the outside of these big conglomerate companies, and this is good because it's always good to have some competition and someone that is looking to step out of these services. Because I feel for me, when the things were starting to come out, a lot of people have pretty much stayed comfortable after all this time since 2013's revelation. And I will tell you that there are so many alternatives to emails. And the two emails I want to go ahead and cover is Protonmail and Tutanota. And this is actually a really good comparison, like a one-on-one comparison between the two. Now I can go on and talk about self-hosted emails versus other ones out there too. But I want to go ahead and take a look into reading Tutanota versus Protonmail. And though they are very, very similar, there are major differences you have to take consideration when you are picking a email provider, right? Not all of them are made the same. And one thing I will say is that for me personally, Protonmail has been for me the way to go for many, many months on end too. But there'll be time that I'll be using Tutanota for other reasons if I have to use another provider. And one of the main things, I will go ahead and right now read this article. So here in the article, which is written by whoever the person did this article. Oh, there we go. Jacob Rush, the writer of Cloud Wars. Now, let's go ahead and take a look over in this article, which he writes down. Tutanota and Protonmail are our two top rated services when it comes to encrypted email. They're neck and neck in our roundup of most secure email providers, and it's easy to see why. Both offer excellent free plans, and they're packed to the brim with features, and above all else, they'll keep your messages safe. In this Tutanota versus Protonmail comparison, though, we're going to find which is the better option between the two, from security and privacy to ease of use in customer service. We're going to compare these two encrypted email services point by point. Okay, so I've read both of them too. I will definitely read parts of it, and I will definitely give you my personal take on these email services too. And note that I will never ever tell anybody to use that because it's better. No. I love to have other people make up their own minds when it comes to picking email services as well. So getting on right here, and the comparison with Tutanota versus Protonmail. So let's get on to security. So here in the article it mentions Tutanota and Protonmail takes functionality different approaches to email security, despite the fact that the end result is mostly the same. Sharing with Protonmail, it's an open PGP service utilizing the long-standing email encryption standard. RSA for messages between users and AES for messages from a user to a non-user. Read our description of emails for more. So, and let me just go and put it this way. And just give you my thoughts on it right when it comes down to security. So with security, now both of them does a really good job when it comes down to security, right? And these open PGP. What PGP stands for those that don't know, which stands for pretty good privacy. Yeah, go figure. It's what it really means, pretty good privacy. And that right there, you can communicate with, let's say if you know somebody that has the same email provider, like if they have Tutanota versus and if you're using someone that has Protonmail, pretty much it is very much secure, both ways too, and pretty much you're using a email service that's using in the same server, right? And that is something I think a lot of people wants to feel comfortable and safe when it comes to privacy, and nobody wants to have anything pretty much over hunched or overlook into an email, right? And that pretty much wouldn't be a good sign, when it comes to people hunching over your back. And I really don't ever want that. That's something I've always felt when I was writing an email down too. But when it comes down to it too, they are technically similar when it comes down to it technically. And since those two services offer PGP services, and so from here, one of the few difference between the two. Let's see. One is based in Germany, and that one is Tutanota, and then the other one is pretty much a Swiss-based company, Protonmail. So, pretty much they've been around for some time now, and Protonmail, I would say one of the things I would say I like about Proton is they do make sending messages really easy, and it's actually good that they make it very easy on the eyes and appealing for people like me. That's someone that just left Gmail years ago, right? To me, I rarely use Gmail to email people or read messages because I left that ecosystem a long time ago. And that's one thing I like about it, because the ease of use, which makes it really nice. Now, not to put down Tutanota, and Tutanota is wonderful as well too. When it comes to it too, their interface isn't bad. I think it's actually really good. Now, not to stick a knife down on Tutanota, I think it is wonderful as a service. Now, very recently, I was actually reading through their tweets recently about their recent DDoS attacks. Now, I know I wouldn't be able to review this and then come out and say that they've gone through a DDoS attack too. Though having to recommend someone for the first time that's listening to this podcast, now if you're going to look into secure ones right here, now Tutanota isn't terrible, right? I think one of the main things I'd say is that they've been going through, I don't know how many DDoS attacks, like 3 in the past week, or God knows. But that's kind of concerns me, and also got pretty much makes me don't know if I ever want to recommend anyone to use Tutanota. But hopefully they're listening to a lot of users' complaints and pretty much letting them know, okay, we're gonna go ahead and fix the problems that we haven't put time to do it, and which I hope they do. I really do. Now, to the Tutanota, I think one of the big difference when it comes down to is, I would say, storage. Now, when it comes to the storage, I think Tutanota is pretty much the winner when it comes to storage, and that's which for their free plan. The free plan offers you 1 gigabyte of free storage, while Protonmail only provides 500 megabytes. So that's not a lot, but if you're not using it on a regular basis, then it may not be worth to sign up with Protonmail, right? Now, I can see why a lot of people want to go to Tutanota, right? And then if you are someone that are willing enough to go ahead and pay extra for storages, now there's going to be cost for it too. Now, I know there is a monthly plan. Then after that, then the other wanted to take note that there's also a yearly plan. You have to you can just consider that if you decide you want to go for the yearly plan, and that's and someone that's going to look into upgrading. Now, if you are going to upgrade and if you decide, okay, maybe I need more storage, and if you're the person like someone that's a business person, for example, and you get emails all the time, then you can have to consider that for Proton or Tutanota too. Now, for me, I don't ever go over 500 megabytes with most of my emails to begin with. So there's that as well too. Now, just want to give you a rule of thumb right here too when it comes to privacy. Now you do have to go ahead and make sure you write it down and or have a piece of note paper, right? Or if you have everything written down on a e-notepad, then good on you for sure. And to keep everything on a note, because otherwise, like I know Tutanota, it'll make it hard for you to reset your password or impossible. So that's one of the things that I would say credit is due to for Tutanota on that one right there too, because everyone is pretty much responsible, and no company is gonna recover your password unless if you have like a secure passphrase in order to get your account unlocked. That's how I see it too. But I will have to go over how Tutanota works. And for me, like I've said, I've been always a Proton Mail guy. So for me, I only go there if I have to, or unless if I am adding way too many things flooding with my inbox, then I will go and pretty much migrate to Tutanota for several reasons that I have to as well. Now, one of the many things I will put down when this in this article right here, where I have to say I disagree, where they say about where in the privacy portion of the article they've mentioned about Tutanota have pretty much delivers better privacy though. Now let's see about how that all goes right here too, because I haven't been a Tutanota guy, though I know they have tons of potential, and that's, I mean, I'm sure that's great. But for me, whenever you hear the news flashing DDoS attack, right, from a company that got hit a week or two ago, that doesn't make it really great, because what happens if that was really bad? Now, I will say in respects with Tutanota is that they're very much consumer friendly, and they get with their customers in a flash, so they don't really waste time. Well, when it comes to corresponding, well, unlike other customer service based, Tutanota does a really good job in communicating with their customers. I think it's really nice, even having communicate through a medium like Twitter, which is great. And however, let's just hope that there's nothing has been leaked over outside of Tutanota, because that's something, honestly, that's really concerning. So for me, I'm gonna have to think about Tutanota, and for me, how that's gonna be with them for a long time too. But then again, like I've said, I use both of them, but for the most part, I use Protonmail for the most. So that's something you have to consider that as well. But let's get on to pricing and storage. Pricing and storage. So what I did briefly mention on. So, but we're now going to get into details. So on number 3, pricing and storage. Tutanota takes the storage approach to pricing. There are 4 plans, but they function more as bundles. You can buy everything a la carte, adding more users to your account or expanding your storage space. Although the plan prices and the add-ons are cheap, bundling everything you can lead to a high monthly bill. Ooh. Yeah, so there are plans that you have to look into on Tutanota. Though and what I'm looking at, they're not bad plans, so something to consider. And also continuing on, Protonmail is much more straightforward, even if the monthly prices is more expensive. Like Tutanota, there are add-ons too, but it doesn't feel like you need them. The plans have enough differentiations between them that if that's it's better to choose a new plan further than simply adding some extra storage or more addresses. So that's something to consider right there too. So though I will agree that Proton's mail is a little expensive compared to Tutanota. Now I actually will say I have used Plus. Plus is not bad. It's not bad for the money. Now it costs $5 a month for the Plus. Professional and Visionary. I really didn't. For me, I didn't have to go and spend out more than I have to because I don't really need the extra services. Now, I know with the Swiss company's plan, I know with their plans, what they're doing is having a secure drive, calendars. So really, if you look at this way too, they're looking into becoming almost like a Google, except something to consider later on too. If you want to look into alternatives right there too. Now the drive plan, it is very exciting. Now one of the main things I will say is that we don't know how much storage how much storage they're going to release to users. What are the plans are going to be for the drives, and why not too. So, but also plus, you're not staying in one ecosystem. So I think what it is and what it comes down to with this Ceron based company, that at least they're going to be releasing options for people so people can just go ahead and look into other options, which is great. We definitely need more competition. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, well, I don't get it. Google Drive is free. I don't need to pay much. Plus the storage is like 15 gigabytes. 15 gigabytes to start out for storage. I really don't want to be paying more than I have to. See, I get it. That's one of the main things I will never do is trust a Google Drive. Just because the thing about Google is, even though it's free, they will mine your data. And so look at it this way. Nothing is free. You got to look at it this way too. In fact, if I have to recommend storage when it comes down to it too, I know it has to be Mega NZ, which is a New Zealand-based company. Something to look into too. But it is cool that Protonmail is looking into branching out. I know with Tutanota, they do have calendar features right there too. Now, I haven't dug into Tutanota if they're going to plan on doing like a cloud drive based service. But I think it would be interesting if they do get on board with that as well. But we will see. So let's just continue reading over here, which says both services offer a free plan, though they're a little different. Tutanota's free version includes 1 gigabyte of storage, while Proton includes only 500 megabytes. There are some critical limitations to each as well. For instance, Protonmail limits free users to 150 messages each day, and Tutanota limits free users to only a single calendar. What? Well, which for me, since I don't use over 150 messages a day, that doesn't bother me too much. Since my emails are very limited, I don't use it a lot too. Now, like I've said before, now if you think that upgrading to a higher plan like the Plus is pretty much worth your while, by all means, go for it too. So, continue on here. but it comes with more. For instance, the Visionary plan includes a full Proton VPN subscription. Tutanota doesn't have anything as exciting on the top end of things. So, which is true. In practice, though, the two services are eventually matched. The one that's best for you from a pricing standpoint depends more on features than anything else. For us, the winner is Protonmail. So that's one thing I would say when it comes down to their article, which I have to say I would say that I slightly disagree with their roundup right there, which I don't know. I could agree with this 100%. Now, Tutanota, like I've said, I don't think it's a bad email service too. Now, I think, like I've said, like what questions me a little bit more, which is the recent DDoS attacks, which I actually went ahead and sent in a tweet, said that I would support you, but how about fix your DDoS issues first? To me, I love open. I'm open up to spending something to a company that is open to open source. I just don't like where the fact that they haven't done anything about the DDoS attacks, and I'm sure that the team over at Tutanota is working on in getting their better protections, better DDoS protections, and I know that this is very challenging for the team that are going through these recent attacks. So I don't like I've said, I don't tell people choose this over the other, and I'm not the kind of person to tell people what to do. Now, if you think that Protonmail is worth your while, cool. If you think that if you want to try out Tutanota and you think that Tutanota is maybe worth it, then go for it as well. Now, like I've said, I use both because I like to go over what I like about the two email services, what comes best for me too, and what things I like over one over the other, right? So there's my point of view right there too. And like I said, they're both very, very similar. So it's hard to say too, but at the end of the day, I've always gone for Protonmail because the email, whenever I'm writing emails, I think the cool part about it too is it does look like Gmail's user interface, and it makes it very, very pleasing, what I've been used to for a very long time. And that's one thing I say, it's easy. And as far as Switzerland's future project with Protonmail, I think they're doing something that are making great links as far as jumping into privacy, as far as cloud-based drives. I don't trust cloud-based at all. Now, if they do an excellent job into this cloud-based service that they're going to be jumping on, then by all means, I'll try it out. I'll give you my further insights on it too. Now, let me get on to sending messages to non-users. Now, sending messages to non-users. Now, I don't ever recommend it, nor I will tell people not to do it, but you can do it for your own risk, of course. Now, let me read this article which it says, when it comes to sending messages to non-users, Protonmail and Tutanota have slightly different solutions. Both providers use AES encryption, that being ceramic encryption, protecting your messages with a single shared secret in both cases. A password you set, the end result is a little different though. At Tutanota, the recipient essentially gets a shipped down account. They can decrypt the messages on Tutanota's servers and open a separate inbox to view it. Protonmail functions similarly, though without any nudge toward transitioning it to the service. So yeah, so there is definitely a huge difference when it comes down to the service. So that's actually one thing I will agree with the article. And this right here, I would say, is the encryption side that Tutanota does do a good job. Now, if you were communicating with somebody, let's say if you're a Proton user communicating with somebody that's using, let's say, Yahoo or Gmail, that will not be safe, because by the time it leaves outside of the Proton servers, it's going to be outbound. It's going to be pretty much outbound to some place, to some server that's not going to be secure, and your messages are going to be read by somebody. So that's of the big difference I can see right there too. Now, Tutanota does a great job, and on that, which I'll give them props for doing that. So, and then in this article, they mentioned that this round is tough because the features for each services are so specialized. Tutanota has some unique offerings such as Secure Connect, but if you don't need that feature, it's ultimately irrelevant still, given that Tutanota includes calendars for free and has a local application. We're going to give it the win this round. So pretty much they're putting Tutanota as the winner for features. Now that's cool. Cool. Now the customer service, I haven't had any issues with both of these email services too. Now I know both of them, they have great services, like customer services that I've actually talked to in social media. So for me, I think both of them does best when it comes to customer service. But again, it's a very tough one too. Now, like I've said, Tutanota is really good. I will continue to use Tutanota. Like I've said, I want them to do better with all the recent DDoS attacks that they've had very, very recently. And I wouldn't want a company, like a startup company, to have all these issues. Look, I get where this is going with the company too, but when they've had some more attacks as of recent, they've really got to step up too. And I don't know what they can do to, I think what it comes down to, I think it's infrastructure. And that's something they got to step up for sure. Now, Protonmail is reserved by CERN. Now, for anyone that doesn't know what CERN is, CERN. CERN stands. It's based in Switzerland, Geneva, Switzerland, and which is pretty much the birthplace of the internet. Now, if you don't know what CERN is, Google it, DuckDuckGo it. You'll see tons of pictures of what CERN looks like. It's a very awesome place. That's something I would love to go one of these days. I think it has a lot of things to see. Now, it is a lab. Now, that's where Protonmail is being run, which is really, really cool. And I mean, I am very much of a geek, so I do love to go to Switzerland one of these days and check out CERN, because I heard that you can actually go and do a tour, pretty much go inside of a tour. I believe you have to book in advance, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know how CERN goes on to, but anyways, this is something I love to talk about in another episode for another time. I do think it is worth talking about CERN, because the fact that it is the birthplace of the internet, and they do a lot of amazing innovations in that place in Switzerland, which is super, super awesome. So just want to go ahead and mention out there too, really quick. But overall, I think for me, I mean, like I said, Protonmail is a clear winner. That's just my thing too. No, though I'm not gonna take this out from the articles article because I do think I don't think this article is 100%. Though it is a little bit dated. And how long has this been written? Okay, it's just about 2 months ago. It's not very, very outdated. But what I've said too already, these two have similar things that you can check up on right there too. And also, why would anyone wants to sign up for it too? For one, to protect your privacy, and two, great alternatives right there too. And for anyone that doesn't know how to self-host their email, then this is it right there too. You can go ahead and go for an awesome and simple ease of use for privacy, and this is it right there too. Now, other than that, like when it comes to self hosting emails, I should say, they are great to have right there too. But I will never recommend anyone to use it if you do not know how to set up your own self-hosted email right there too. And all of that comes down to is how you're going to manage it. And if you know how to manage it, then wonderful. And I've actually managed one a long time ago too, but then I find out there's a monthly plan to managing a self-hosted email, and having to configure everything on your own, it's going to be pretty tough. So make sure you get used to it if you decide to do self-hosting email. But furthermore, I think this is about it really. I don't want to go in through a rambling fit right there too, because I know I've gone through the two services way too long than I have to. Now, is there anything you want to cover here in this show? If so, let me know. Love to hear from you. And if you like what you heard, and if this was something that you like to hear more about privacy, or pretty much versus on emails, drives, all that stuff, let me know. I'd love to hear more on your take too. And if you love this episode, make sure to rate and review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever podcast service of your choice. Go ahead and make sure to put in a review on what do you think about this episode. That again, thank you so much for taking the listen. You guys have a great and awesome day. Peace.